What if Luke Skywalker found Anakin's holocron after his death? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Luke's hands tremble as he touches the pyramid. The device pulses with dark energy, veins of crimson light crawling across its surface like living blood. This shouldn't exist. Vader destroyed everything. Yet here it is, hidden in the wreckage, waiting. The holocron ignites. Anakin Skywalker's face materializes before him. Not the scarred, broken shell that died in his arms. The man before the fall. Young, powerful, dangerous. My son, if you're hearing this, then I am gone. But the Emperor isn't. He prepared for this. He planned for his defeat. And if you don't listen to me, everything you fought for will burn. Luke's blood runs cold. 3 days ago, he watched Palpatine die. 3 days ago, the galaxy celebrated. But his father's warning changes everything. The war isn't over. It's just beginning. The holocron reveals coordinates, hidden facilities, clone experiments, contingencies that could resurrect the Empire's darkest hour. But that's not all. Anakin's voice drops to a whisper, and Luke leans closer, desperate to hear. The Jedi were wrong about the Force, about the dark side, about everything. And if you want to save the galaxy, you'll need to learn what they feared to teach. This is the story of how one holocron changed Luke Skywalker, how it transformed him from a naive farm boy into something the galaxy had never seen, how it prevented Palpatine's return decades before it could happen, and how it forced Luke to walk the same razor's edge that destroyed his father. But first, we need to understand how he found it. The celebrations on Endor echo through the forest moon. But Luke Skywalker stands apart from the joy. Something's wrong. He can feel it in the Force. A pull, a whisper, something his father left behind. While his friends celebrate, Luke makes a decision that will change everything. He's going back to the Death Star, back to the place where his father died. Because Anakin Skywalker's final gift is waiting in the ruins, and time is running out. 3 days after the Battle of Endor, Luke commandeers a salvaged TIE fighter. Wedge tries to stop him. You should stay with the fleet. Celebrate with us. You've earned it. But Luke can't. The Force won't let him rest. There's something out there, something calling to him from the debris field. His father's voice, faint but insistent. Find it before they do. Luke launches into space alone. The wreckage of the second Death Star stretches before him like a massive graveyard. Twisted metal, shattered dreams, the corpse of the Empire floating in the void. He closes his eyes and reaches out, letting the Force guide him through the chaos. The pull grows stronger, more urgent, leading him toward a specific fragment, Vader's meditation chamber. The chamber is a tomb of shadow and silence. Scorched walls, broken machinery, the air thick with the residue of the dark side. But in the center, protected by the Force itself, sits the holocron. Luke kneels before it, his heart pounding. The moment his fingers touch its surface, the device explodes to life. And Anakin Skywalker's warning begins. The Emperor is dead, but his shadow remains. He was not a fool. He prepared for this, planned for his defeat. You think the war is over, but it has only just begun. Palpatine created contingencies, hidden fortresses filled with his most dangerous experiments. If they are not stopped, the galaxy will fall into darkness once more. Luke's hands tighten on the holocron. His father's voice continues, each word more urgent than the last. But there's more. Something the Jedi never understood. The Force is not what they taught you. The rigid dogma, the fear of emotion, the denial of the dark side, that's what destroyed them. I fell because I couldn't reconcile my love with their teachings. But you, Luke, you can be different. You've already proven that. You felt my conflict and refused to strike me down. You chose love over hate. That is the true power of the Force. Luke stares at the holocron, his mind reeling. Everything Obi-Wan and Yoda taught him is being challenged. But there's truth in Anakin's words. Luke had defied his masters when he refused to kill Vader. He had chosen his own path, and it had saved his father's soul. Perhaps Anakin is right. Perhaps there is more to learn. The holocron pulses again, and Anakin's final warning echoes through the chamber. This holocron contains everything I learned, everything I wish I could have taught you in person. Techniques the Jedi feared, knowledge they suppressed, power they denied. But you must be careful. The path I'm offering is dangerous. It requires you to face your fears, to acknowledge your anger, and to choose the light despite them. If you accept this knowledge, you will be forever changed. But if you trust me, you can become what the galaxy needs. Not a Jedi, not a Sith, something greater. The hologram flickers and fades. Luke sits in the darkness, the weight of the decision crushing down on him. He could destroy the holocron right now, throw it into the debris, let it burn up in Endor's atmosphere. That's what Yoda would want, what Obi-Wan would demand. But his father's warning about Palpatine's contingencies echoes in his mind. If the Emperor truly prepared for his defeat, if there are hidden facilities, clone experiments, plans to resurrect the Empire, then Luke can't ignore it. He makes his choice. Tell me everything, Father. I'm listening. Leia senses his turmoil. She always does. She excuses herself from Han and makes her way through the crowd, her presence a gentle comfort in the Force. When she reaches Luke, she doesn't say anything at first. She simply stands beside him, sharing in his silence. Finally, she speaks, her voice soft but steady. You did the right thing, Luke. You saved him. You brought our father back to the light. Luke nods, but the weight in his chest doesn't lift. I know, but it doesn't feel like enough. There's something missing, something left undone. I can feel it. Leia, a pull in the Force, like he's trying to tell me something. Leia frowns, concern flickering across her face. Do you think it's a warning? Something about the Empire? Luke shakes his head. I don't know, but I have to find out. I can't rest until I do. The next morning, as the rebels begin their preparations to leave Endor, Luke makes his decision. He requisitions a salvaged TIE fighter, one of the many Imperial ships left behind in the chaos of the battle. Wedge tries to talk him out of it, insisting that Luke should stay with the fleet, that he deserves to celebrate with everyone else. But Luke is resolute. There's something I need to do, Wedge. Something I need to find. I'll be back soon. I promise. Wedge sighs, knowing better than to argue with Luke when his mind is made up. Just be careful, all right? We didn't come this far to lose you now. Luke climbs into the TIE fighter and launches into space. The debris field of the second Death Star stretches out before him, a graveyard of twisted metal and shattered dreams. Fragments of the station float in orbit, some still glowing with residual heat from the explosion. Luke closes his eyes and reaches out with the Force, letting it guide him through the wreckage. He doesn't know what he's looking for, but he trusts that the Force will show him. Hours pass as he navigates the debris. The silence is oppressive, broken only by the occasional creak of shifting metal or the hiss of escaping atmosphere from a ruptured hull. Luke's mind drifts back to his final moments with his father, Anakin Skywalker, his face unmasked, his eyes filled with a peace Luke had never seen before. "Tell your sister, you were right." Then the life fading from his eyes, his body becoming one with the Force. Luke's hands tighten on the controls. He will not let his father's sacrifice be in vain. Finally, the Force pulls him toward a specific section of the debris. It's a fragment of the Death Star's inner ring, blackened and scorched but still intact. Luke recognizes it immediately. It was Vader's meditation chamber, the sanctum where his father retreated to find solace in the darkness. Luke lands the TIE fighter on the fragment surface and makes his way inside. The corridors are twisted and broken, the walls cracked and unstable. But Luke presses on, his lightsaber ignited to light the way. The meditation chamber is a tomb. The air is thick with the residue of the dark side, a lingering presence that makes Luke's skin crawl. But beneath that darkness, he senses something else, something pure. In the center of the chamber, surrounded by debris, sits a small pyramidal device, a holocron. Luke's breath catches in his throat. He's heard of these from Obi-Wan, ancient artifacts used by the Jedi to store knowledge and teachings. But this one is different. Its surface is black, almost like obsidian, with veins of crimson light pulsing through it like a heartbeat. It radiates both light and dark, a perfect balance of the Force. Luke kneels before the holocron and reaches out. The moment his fingers touch its surface, the device flares to life. A holographic image materializes above it, and Luke's heart nearly stops. It's not Darth Vader. It's Anakin Skywalker, as he was before the fall. Younger, his face unmarred by scars, his eyes clear and blue. He's dressed in the robes of a Jedi Knight, and there's a sadness in his expression that cuts Luke to the core. "My son." The voice is warm, filled with a paternal love that Luke never got to experience in life. "If you're hearing this, then I am gone. I created this holocron during my time as Vader, but I could never bring myself to destroy it. Perhaps, deep down, I always hoped that one day you would find it. There is so much I need to tell you, Luke. So much the Jedi never understood. I have walked both paths, served both the light and the dark. What I learned, what I discovered, it cannot die with me. Luke, you must listen carefully. The Emperor is dead, but his shadow remains. He was not a fool. He prepared for this, planned for his defeat. You think the war is over, but it has only just begun. Palpatine created contingencies, hidden fortresses filled with his most dangerous experiments. If they are not stopped, the galaxy will fall into darkness once more. But more than that, I need to teach you the truth about the Force. The Jedi taught you to fear the dark side, to suppress your emotions, to deny what makes you human. That rigidity, that dogma, is what led to their destruction. I fell because I couldn't reconcile my love with their teachings. But you, Luke, you can be different. You've already proven that. You felt my conflict, my pain, and you refused to strike me down. You chose love over hate. That is the true power of the Force. The image flickers, and for a moment, Luke sees a flash of Vader beneath Anakin's face, a reminder of the darkness that consumed him. But then, it stabilizes, and Anakin continues. This holocron contains everything I learned, everything I wish I could have taught you in person. But you must be careful, Luke. The path I'm offering is not easy. It requires you to face your fears, to acknowledge your anger and pain, and to choose the light despite them. If you accept this knowledge, you will be forever changed. But if you trust me, if you trust yourself, you can become something greater than either a Jedi or a Sith. You can become what the galaxy needs. The hologram fades, and the holocron's light dims. Luke sits in silence, his mind racing. Everything Obi-Wan and Yoda taught him, everything he believed about the Force, is being challenged. But there's truth in his father's words. Luke had defied his masters when he refused to kill Vader. He had chosen his own path, and it had saved his father's soul. Perhaps Anakin is right. Perhaps there is more to learn. Luke picks up the holocron, its weight surprisingly light in his hands, and tucks it into his robes. Tell me everything, Father. I'm listening. Luke returns to the rebel fleet, but he keeps the holocron a secret. He knows that if he reveals it to the others, they will have questions, doubts. They will see it as a relic of the dark side, a dangerous artifact that should be destroyed. So he hides it in his quarters, waiting until he can study it in private. That night, after the celebrations have died down and the fleet is quiet, Luke activates the holocron once more. Anakin's voice fills the small room, and Luke listens, rapt with attention. His father speaks of the Clone Wars, of battles and campaigns Luke never knew existed. He describes the political machinations of the Senate, how Palpatine manipulated everyone, Jedi and Sith alike, playing them against each other like pieces on a Dejaric board. He explains his fall, not with excuses, but with brutal honesty. I was arrogant, Luke. I thought I could save everyone, control everything. When I had visions of your mother dying, I turned to the dark side in desperation. But the dark side offers no salvation, only chains. I became a slave to my own anger, my own fear. I hurt the people I loved, destroyed everything I swore to protect. Don't make my mistakes. Acknowledge your emotions, but don't let them control you. The holocron teaches Luke techniques that Obi-Wan and Yoda never mentioned. Anakin demonstrates advanced lightsaber forms, variations on the traditional styles that incorporate aggressive strikes and unpredictable movements. He shows Luke how to channel his emotions into the Force without being consumed by them, how to draw on his anger and pain to fuel his power while maintaining control. He teaches Luke to sense deception, to read the intentions of others through the Force, to project his presence across vast distances, and even to influence the minds of the weak-willed. These are not dark side powers, Luke. They are simply the Force, unfiltered by the Jedi's fear. The Jedi were so afraid of falling to the dark side that they crippled themselves. They taught detachment. But detachment is not strength. It's denial. True strength comes from facing your emotions, understanding them, and choosing how to act despite them. That is the balance the Jedi never understood. Luke spends weeks in secret training, practicing the techniques Anakin teaches him. He meditates for hours, diving deep into the Force to understand its dual nature. He learns to feel the dark side without being seduced by it, to recognize its whispers and reject them. He practices lightsaber combat in the empty cargo bays, his movements becoming faster, more fluid, more deadly. The other rebels notice the change in him. He's quieter, more focused, and there's a new intensity in his eyes that both inspires and unsettles them. One evening, Leia confronts him. She finds him in his quarters, the holocron active, Anakin's voice filling the room. Luke freezes, expecting her to be angry, to demand that he destroy the artifact. But instead, she simply stands in the doorway, her expression unreadable. How long have you had this? Luke hesitates, then decides there's no point in lying. Since Endor, I found it in Vader's meditation chamber. It's his final gift to me, Leia. Everything he learned, everything he wanted to teach me. I know it's dangerous, but I can't ignore it. Leia steps into the room and sits beside him. She stares at the holocron, her emotions a swirling mix of curiosity, fear, and grief. I can feel him in it, Luke. Our father. Not Vader, but Anakin. It's like he's still here, trying to make amends. Luke nods. He is. And he's trying to warn us. The Emperor had contingencies, plans in case he was defeated. If we don't stop them, everything we fought for will be for nothing. Leia's expression hardens. Then we need to tell the others. This is bigger than just us, Luke. If Palpatine's shadow still looms over the galaxy, the New Republic needs to know. The next day, Luke and Leia present their findings to Mon Mothma, Admiral Akbar, and the other leaders of the rebellion. The room is tense as Luke activates the holocron and lets Anakin's warning play. The leaders listen in stunned silence, their faces growing paler with each word. When the hologram fades, Mon Mothma speaks, her voice steady but strained. If what you're saying is true, then we're not safe. The Emperor's plans could still unfold, even in death. We need to act, and quickly. Admiral Akbar leans forward, his large eyes narrowing. But how do we find these facilities? The galaxy is vast, and the Empire kept many secrets. We could spend years searching and find nothing. Luke stands, his resolve unshakable. The holocron has information, coordinates, and clues. My father spent decades as Vader. He knew the Emperor's operations better than anyone. He's given me everything I need to find these places and destroy them. But I can't do it alone. I need a team, people I can trust. Mon Mothma nods. You'll have whatever resources you need, Luke. This mission is critical. If the Emperor's contingencies are allowed to proceed, the New Republic will be stillborn. Assemble your team and begin immediately. But be discreet. If word of this spreads, it could cause panic. We can't afford chaos right now. Luke accepts the mission, And over the next few days, he carefully selects his team. He chooses Wedge Antilles, his loyal wingman, and one of the best pilots in the rebellion. He recruits a handful of intelligence operatives, men and women who know how to move through the galaxy's underworld unnoticed, and he asks Leia to join him, knowing that her connection to the Force, though untrained, could be invaluable. Their first lead takes them to a remote world in the Outer Rim, a barren rock called Korriban. According to the Holocron, Korriban was once a sacred world of the Sith, a place where they buried their dead and conducted dark rituals. Anakin's voice warns Luke that the Emperor had an interest in Korriban, that he sent expeditions there to uncover Sith artifacts and knowledge. If any of Palpatine's contingencies survive, Korriban is a likely place to start. The team arrives on Korriban under the cover of night. The planet's surface is a desolate wasteland, its red sands stretching out as far as the eye can see. In the distance, massive tombs rise from the dunes, their stone walls covered in ancient Sith runes. Luke feels the dark side pressing down on him the moment he steps off the ship. It's oppressive, suffocating, like a weight on his chest, but he pushes through it, leading his team toward the largest tomb. Inside, the air is cold and stale. The walls are lined with statues of long-dead Sith lords, their eyes seeming to follow the intruders. Luke ignites his lightsaber, the green blade casting eerie shadows on the stone. Wedge and the others keep their weapons ready, their nerves fraying with every step. They descend deeper into the tomb, following a narrow staircase that spirals down into the earth. Eventually, they reach a massive chamber, and Luke's heart sinks. The chamber is filled with Imperial equipment, computers, medical pods, and strange machinery that hums with energy. In the center of the room, a group of robed figures kneel before an altar, their chants echoing through the space. On the altar sits a twisted figure, a clone of Palpatine, its body pale and malformed. It's not fully developed, but it's alive, its yellow eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. Luke steps forward, and the cultists turn, their faces hidden beneath hoods. They draw crimson lightsabers, their blades igniting with a hiss. So, the son of Skywalker has come. One of the cultists speaks, his voice dripping with malice. "You are too late, Jedi. The Emperor's will is eternal. His legacy will endure." Luke raises his lightsaber, his voice cold and steady. "Not if I have anything to say about it." The cultists charge, and the chamber erupts into chaos. Luke meets the first attacker, their lightsabers clashing in a shower of sparks. The cultist is skilled, but Luke is better. He parries the strike, spins, and drives his blade through the man's chest. The cultist falls, and Luke moves on to the next. Wedge and the others open fire, their blasters cutting down several cultists before they can reach the main group. But the cultists are relentless. They swarm Luke, attacking from all sides, their strikes fast and brutal. Luke feels the dark side rising within him, a familiar temptation whispering in his ear. He could use it, let it fuel his power, make him unstoppable. But then he hears Anakin's voice in his mind. "Don't hold back, Luke. These are not innocents. They chose this path. Use your anger, but don't let it consume you. Channel it, control it." Luke takes a deep breath and lets the anger flow through him. His strikes become faster, more aggressive, but he remains in control. He's not fighting out of hate, but out of necessity. One by one, the cultists fall, their bodies collapsing to the ground as Luke advances on the altar. The twisted clone creature stirs, its eyes opening to reveal a faint glimmer of consciousness. It reaches out a gnarled hand, its voice a raspy whisper. "You cannot stop what has begun. The Emperor's will is eternal." Luke raises his lightsaber and brings it down, cleaving the creature in two. The chamber shudders and the dark energy dissipates. Wedge and the others rush in, their faces pale but relieved. Luke deactivates his lightsaber and turns to the computers. He downloads the data logs, his heart sinking as he reads through them. This facility was just one of many. Palpatine's experiments spanned the galaxy, and the clone on the altar was only a prototype. There are others, more advanced, hidden on worlds like Bis, Exegol, and Dromund-Kaas. The team returns to the fleet, and Luke presents his findings to Mon Mothma and the other leaders. The room is silent as they absorb the gravity of the situation. If the Emperor truly had the means to return, even in a diminished form, then the galaxy is not safe. Mon Mothma authorizes a covert operation to locate and destroy these facilities, and Luke is placed at its head. But he knows he cannot do this alone. He needs allies, people who understand the Force and the dangers of the dark side. The Holocron provides the answer. One night, as Luke meditates with it, Anakin's voice speaks to him, revealing a secret Luke never knew. There are others, Luke, Jedi who survived Order 66, who went into hiding. One of them was my Padawan, Ahsoka Tano. I don't know if she still lives, but if she does, she will help you seek her out. And there are others too. Force sensitives scattered across the galaxy. Find them, train them, build something new. Don't repeat the mistakes of the old Jedi Order. Teach them balance, not dogma. Luke's heart swells with hope. He is not alone. There are others who can help him rebuild. He begins his search, following the Force's guidance and the clues Anakin provides. It takes months, but eventually, he finds her, Ahsoka Tano, living in seclusion on a remote moon in the Outer Rim. She's older now, her montrals grown tall, her face lined with the weight of years. But her presence in the Force is as strong as ever, serene yet powerful. When Luke arrives on her doorstep, Ahsoka is wary. She's heard of him, the son of Anakin Skywalker, the one who redeemed Vader. But she's not sure if she can trust him. Too many Jedi have fallen. Too many have been corrupted. But then Luke shows her the Holocron. He activates it, and Anakin's voice fills the small dwelling. Ahsoka's breath catches, tears streaming down her face as she hears her master's voice. Not the cold, mechanical tone of Vader, but the warm, compassionate voice of the man she once knew, Sky Guy. The name escapes her lips, a nickname she hasn't used in decades. Luke sees the pain in her eyes and understands. This is more than just a reunion with the past. It's a chance for Ahsoka to find closure, to hear the words Anakin never got to say. The Holocron speaks to her, acknowledging her sacrifice, her strength, and her unwavering dedication to the light. Ahsoka, you were the best of us. I failed you, but you never failed yourself. Help, Luke. Teach him what I couldn't. Together, you can build something better. Ahsoka looks at Luke, her resolve hardening. "I'll help you. Not because of what your father was, but because of what you can become. The galaxy needs protectors, but not the old Jedi. They failed. We need something new, something better." Luke nods, and the two of them begin to work together. Ahsoka joins Luke on his mission, and her experience proves invaluable. She's fought in the Clone Wars, survived Order 66, and walked away from the Jedi Order. She understands the flaws of the old ways and is eager to help create something new. Together, Luke and Ahsoka continue their hunt for Palpatine's facilities. Their next target is Biss, a world deep in the core. According to the Holocron, Biss was one of Palpatine's hidden strongholds, a place where he conducted experiments in the dark side. As their ship enters orbit, Luke feels a disturbance in the Force, a darkness that clings to the planet like a shroud. This is no ordinary world. This is a nexus of the dark side, a place where the Emperor's power still lingers. They land on the surface, and immediately, Luke knows something is wrong. The air is thick with malevolence, and the ruins they approach pulse with Sith energy. This was no ordinary Imperial facility. This was a temple, a place of ritual and sacrifice. Luke and Ahsoka ignite their lightsabers, their blades cutting through the darkness as they descend into the depths. The corridors are lined with statues of ancient Sith lords, their eyes seeming to follow the intruders. Wedge and the others follow close behind, their weapons ready. As they venture deeper, they encounter traps. Pressure plates trigger darts coated in poison. Hidden blades swing from the walls. The floor gives way to reveal pits filled with spikes. But Luke and Ahsoka move with the grace of seasoned warriors, dodging each trap with ease. Finally, they reach a massive chamber, and Luke's blood runs cold. Inside, dozens of robed figures kneel before a towering altar. On the altar sits another Palpatine clone, this one more advanced than the last. Its body is still pale and twisted, but its eyes burn with intelligence and malice. The cultists turn as Luke and Ahsoka enter, and they ignite their lightsabers. There are more of them this time, at least 20, and they move with the coordination of trained soldiers. Luke and Ahsoka exchange a glance, then charge. The battle is fierce. Luke's green blade clashes with crimson as he faces 3 cultists at once. He parries one strike, spins to block another, and kicks the 3rd cultist back. Ahsoka's white lightsabers dance through the air, her movements fluid and precise. She disarms one cultist, strikes down another, and uses the Force to hurl a 3rd into the wall. But the cultists are relentless. They fight with a fanatical zeal, throwing themselves at Luke and Ahsoka without regard for their own lives. Luke feels his anger rising, the dark side whispering in his ear, urging him to give in, to unleash his full power. But he resists. He draws on Anakin's teachings, channeling his emotions without being consumed by them. His strikes are powerful but controlled, aggressive but precise. One by one, the cultists fall, their bodies littering the chamber floor. Finally, only the clone remains. It rises from the altar, its movements slow and unsteady. Luke steps forward, his lightsaber raised. "You're an abomination, a mockery of the man you're supposed to be." The clone laughs, a sound that echoes through the chamber. I am more than a man. I am an idea, a legacy. You cannot kill me, Jedi. The Emperor's will is eternal. Luke doesn't hesitate. He rushes forward and drives his lightsaber through the clone's chest. The creature screams, its body convulsing, and then it disintegrates into ash. The chamber shudders, and the dark energy begins to fade. Ahsoka approaches Luke, her expression grim. This is just the beginning, isn't it? Luke nods. We've barely scratched the surface. Palpatine's plans go deeper than we imagined. We need to find the others, destroy every facility, every experiment. We can't let his shadow linger. They leave the temple and return to their ship, but not before Luke downloads the facility's data logs. What he finds is even more disturbing than before. Palpatine's cloning experiments were more advanced than anyone realized. He was attempting to create a perfect vessel, a body that could house his consciousness and grant him immortality. The clones on Korriban and Biss were failures, but the logs mention a final facility, a place called Exegol, where the Emperor's most dangerous work was being conducted. Luke and Ahsoka return to the fleet and brief Mon Mothma and the other leaders. The New Republic is shaken by the revelations. If Palpatine truly had the means to cheat death, then the galaxy is not safe. Mon Mothma authorizes a full-scale operation to locate and destroy Exegol, but she warns Luke that it won't be easy. Exegol is hidden, protected by ancient Sith technology and treacherous hyperspace routes. Even if they find it, they'll be walking into the heart of the Emperor's power. But Luke is undeterred. He knows what he must do. He gathers his team and prepares for the mission. But before they leave, Ahsoka pulls him aside. Luke, there's something you need to understand. What you're about to face, it's not just Palpatine. It's everything the Sith represent. Centuries of hatred and darkness, concentrated in one place. You'll be tempted, tested, in ways you can't imagine. You need to be ready. Luke nods. I know, but I have you, and I have my father's teachings. I won't fall, Ahsoka. I promise. As they prepare for the mission, Luke continues his training with the Holocron. Anakin teaches him advanced techniques, abilities that blur the line between light and dark. He shows Luke how to absorb energy attacks, how to manipulate the environment with the Force, and even how to project illusions to confuse his enemies. These techniques are dangerous, but they are necessary. Luke knows that to defeat Palpatine's legacy, he must be willing to use every tool at his disposal. But the Holocron also provides something else, something Luke didn't expect. It gives him insight into Ahsoka's past, into the bond she shared with Anakin during the Clone Wars. Luke learns about their adventures together, the battles they fought, the lives they saved. He sees how much Ahsoka meant to his father, how she was like a sister to him, and he understands why Anakin wanted them to work together. They are two halves of his legacy, the light he fought for and the redemption he achieved. One evening, Luke and Ahsoka sit together, meditating with the Holocron. Anakin's voice speaks to them both, offering guidance and wisdom. You two are stronger together than you could ever be apart. Luke, you have the raw power, the connection to the Force that few possess. Ahsoka, you have the discipline, the experience, the wisdom that comes from walking away from the Order. Together, you can achieve what I never could. You can bring true balance to the Force. Luke opens his eyes and looks at Ahsoka. Do you think we can do it? Can we really stop Palpatine's legacy? Ahsoka smiles, a rare expression of warmth. We have to try. For your father, for the galaxy, for everyone who's counting on us. Luke nods, and the two of them continue their preparations. Days turn into weeks as they gather intelligence on Exegol. They learn that the planet is located in the unknown regions, hidden behind a maze of hyperspace, anomalies, and gravitational distortions. The journey alone will be treacherous, but they are determined. Finally, the day comes. Luke, Ahsoka, Wedge, Leia, and a small fleet of rebel ships prepare to depart. The New Republic has given them everything they need, but success is far from guaranteed. As they board their ships, Mon Mothma offers a final word of encouragement. You carry the hopes of the entire galaxy with you. May the Force be with you. Luke nods, and the fleet launches into hyperspace. The journey to Exegol is harrowing. The hyperspace routes are unstable, and the ships are buffeted by gravitational forces that threaten to tear them apart. Several ships are lost in the journey, their crews never to be seen again. But Luke and Ahsoka press on, their connection to the Force guiding them through the chaos. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, they drop out of hyperspace above a storm-wreathed world. Exegol. The planet is a nightmare. Its surface is covered in perpetual storms, lightning arcing across the sky in jagged bolts. The air is thick with the dark side, a presence so oppressive that even the non-Force sensitives can feel it. Luke stares at the planet, his heart pounding. This is it, the heart of Palpatine's power. Ahsoka places a hand on his shoulder. Stay focused, Luke. Remember your training. Luke nods, and the fleet begins its descent. As they enter the atmosphere, they are met with resistance. Sith fighters swarm from hidden bases on the surface, their crimson hulls streaking through the storm. The rebel pilots engage, their ships weaving through the enemy fire with practiced precision. Wedge leads the charge, his X-Wing blasting through the Sith fighters with deadly efficiency. But the enemy is relentless, and the battle is fierce. Several rebel ships are destroyed, their wreckage spiraling down into the storm. Luke and Ahsoka pilot a shuttle toward the surface, flanked by a squadron of A-Wings. They land near a massive temple, its spires rising from the ground like the bones of some ancient beast. The structure is impossibly old, predating even the Old Republic. Luke can feel the dark side radiating from it, a pulsing, malevolent presence that makes his skin crawl. But he pushes through the fear and leads his team inside. The interior of the temple is vast and labyrinthine. The walls are covered in Sith runes, their meanings lost to time. The air is cold, and the sound of dripping water echoes through the corridors. Luke and Ahsoka move cautiously, their lightsabers ignited. Behind them, Leia and a squad of rebel soldiers follow, their weapons ready. They encounter cultists almost immediately, robed figures who emerge from the shadows with lightsabers drawn. But Luke and Ahsoka cut them down with ease, their movements synchronized, their connection to the Force allowing them to anticipate each other's actions. They descend deeper into the temple, following the pull of the dark side. The corridors twist and turn, each passage darker than the last. Luke can feel eyes watching them from the shadows. Presences in the Force that flicker and fade like dying embers. These are not living beings, but echoes, imprints of those who died here. Their final moments of agony burned into the very walls of this cursed place. Ahsoka moves beside him, her expression grim, her white lightsabers held in a defensive stance. Behind them, Leia and the rebel soldiers struggle to keep pace, their faces pale with fear. "We shouldn't be here," one of the soldiers whispers, his voice trembling. "This place, it's wrong. It's like the planet itself wants us dead." Luke glances back at him. "Stay focused. Fear is what the dark side feeds on. Don't give it what it wants." The soldier nods, but Luke can see the terror in his eyes. He understands. This is not a place for ordinary people. This is a nexus of pure evil. A wound in the Force that may never heal. They encounter more cultists as they descend. These ones are different from the others they've faced. They move with an eerie synchronization, their strikes coordinated as if guided by a single mind. Luke realizes with horror that they are, in a sense. The dark side binds them together, linking their consciousnesses into a hive mind of hatred and fanaticism. He and Ahsoka work in tandem. Their lightsabers a blur of green and white. Luke parries a strike aimed at his head, spins, and drives his blade through a cultist's chest. Ahsoka leaps over another attacker, her blades crossing in an X pattern that decapitates two cultists in a single motion. But the cultists keep coming. For every one they cut down, two more emerge from the shadows. Luke feels his frustration mounting, the dark side whispering to him, urging him to give in, to unleash his full power and annihilate them all. He pushes the thoughts aside, drawing on Anakin's teachings. Control, balance. He cannot let his anger consume him. Not here, not when so much is at stake. He takes a deep breath and centers himself, letting the Force flow through him. His strikes become more precise, more efficient. He's not fighting out of rage, but out of necessity. Eventually, they reach a massive set of doors inscribed with Sith runes that glow with a sickly red light. Luke places his hand on the doors, and they swing open with a groan that echoes through the chamber beyond. The room is vast, larger than anything Luke has ever seen. The ceiling stretches up into darkness, and the walls are lined with massive statues of ancient Sith lords. But it's what's in the center of the room that makes Luke's blood run cold. Cloning cylinders, hundreds of them, arranged in concentric circles around a central throne. Each cylinder contains a figure, and as Luke approaches, he sees that they all share the same face, Palpatine. Some of the clones are fully formed, their bodies pale and frail, but intact. Others are grotesque, their flesh twisted and malformed, their limbs elongated or shriveled. These are the failures, the experiments that didn't survive the cloning process. But the ones that did, they're alive. Luke can sense their presence in the Force, faint and flickering but undeniably real. At the center of the chamber, seated on a throne of blackened stone, is the Emperor himself, or at least a version of him. This clone is different from the others Luke has encountered. Its body is decrepit, the skin stretched tight over skeletal bones, but its eyes burn with a malevolent intelligence that Luke recognizes immediately. This is not just a clone. This is Palpatine. His consciousness transferred into a new vessel, his spirit clinging to life through sheer force of will. The Emperor rises from the throne, his movements slow and deliberate. His voice echoes through the chamber, amplified by the dark side. So, the son of Skywalker has come. How delightful. Did you truly think you could stop me? I have transcended death itself. I am inevitable. I am eternal. Luke steps forward, his lightsaber held at the ready. You're nothing but a shadow, a pale imitation of the monster you once were. My father destroyed you on the Death Star. I'm here to finish the job. Palpatine laughs, a sound that reverberates through the chamber like thunder. Your father was weak, boy. He chose love over power, and it destroyed him. He could have ruled the galaxy at my side, but instead, he threw his life away for you. And for what? So you could stand here, defiant and foolish, believing you can defeat me? Luke's grip tightens on his lightsaber. He wasn't weak. He was stronger than you'll ever be. He chose redemption over damnation. He chose love over hate. And that's something you'll never understand. The Emperor's smile fades, replaced by a cold, calculating stare. You speak of love as if it's a strength, but love is a chain, boy. It binds you, limits you, makes you vulnerable. I offered your father everything, power beyond imagining, and he spat in my face. But you, Luke, you're different. I can sense the darkness within you, the anger, the fear. You've tasted it, haven't you? The power that comes from embracing your emotions. Join me, and I will teach you to wield that power without restraint. Together, we can bring order to this chaotic galaxy. We can rule as master and apprentice. Luke's jaw clenches. I'll never join you. You're everything I stand against. Everything my father fought to destroy. Palpatine's expression darkens, and the temperature in the chamber drops. So be it. If you will not be turned, then you will be destroyed. He raises his hands, and a torrent of Force lightning erupts from his fingertips. The blue-white energy arcs across the chamber, striking Luke with the force of a battering ram. Luke raises his lightsaber, the blade absorbing the lightning, but the sheer power of the attack drives him back, his boots skidding across the stone floor. Ahsoka rushes to his aid, her white lightsabers flashing as she charges at the Emperor. But Palpatine is ready. He redirects the lightning toward her, and she's forced to dive aside, the energy scorching the ground where she stood a moment before. Leia opens fire with her blaster, but Palpatine raises a hand, and the bolts freeze in midair, suspended by the Force. With a flick of his wrist, he sends them flying back toward the rebel soldiers, who scatter for cover. Luke pushes through the pain and charges at the Emperor. His lightsaber arcs toward Palpatine's head, but the Sith Lord raises a hand, and Luke is lifted off the ground, held in place by an invisible grip. Palpatine's smile returns, cold and mocking. You are strong, boy. I will give you that, but you are no match for the dark side of the Force. He slams Luke into the ground, the impact driving the air from his lungs. Luke gasps, struggling to breathe, as Palpatine approaches, his steps echoing through the chamber. But before the Emperor can strike, Ahsoka is there, her lightsabers crossing in an X pattern as she blocks his path. You want him? You'll have to go through me. Palpatine chuckles, a sound that sends chills down her spine. Ahsoka Tano, the one who walked away. I remember you. Anakin spoke of you often, even as Vader. He always wondered what became of you. Tell me, do you blame yourself for his fall? Do you lie awake at night, tormented by the knowledge that you abandoned him when he needed you most? Ahsoka's grip tightens on her lightsabers. You don't get to use him against me. You're the one who destroyed him. You're the one who twisted him into a monster. Palpatine's smile widens. Am I? Or did I simply give him what he wanted? Power, control, the ability to save those he loved. Anakin Skywalker fell because he was weak, because he couldn't let go. And now, his son will fall for the same reason. Ahsoka doesn't respond. She attacks, her lightsabers a blur of white light. Palpatine meets her strikes with the Force, each of her blows deflected by an invisible barrier. He's toying with her. Luke realizes he's not even using a lightsaber. He's holding her off with the Force alone. Luke forces himself to his feet, his body screaming in protest. He reaches out with the Force, pulling on the cloning cylinders around the room. They shatter, one by one, the glass exploding outward in a shower of shards. The clones inside collapse, their bodies convulsing as they're exposed to the air. Palpatine's expression shifts, a flicker of rage crossing his face. You dare destroy my work? Luke steps forward, his lightsaber igniting once more. Your work is an abomination. You're trying to cheat death, to hold on to power you no longer deserve. But it ends here. No more clones, no more contingencies. This is where your legacy dies. The Emperor snarls, and the dark side energy in the chamber intensifies. The statues along the walls begin to crack, their stone surfaces splitting as raw power floods the room. Very well. If you wish to die, then I shall grant your wish. Palpatine raises both hands, and a storm of lightning erupts from him. Not aimed at Luke or Ahsoka, but at the ceiling above. The stone begins to crumble, massive chunks of rock falling toward them. Luke and Ahsoka leap aside, their movements guided by the Force. The rebel soldiers aren't so lucky. Several are crushed beneath the falling debris, their screams cut short as tons of stone bury them. Luke's heart clenches, but he can't afford to mourn. Not yet. He channels his emotions, his grief and anger, into the Force. He remembers Anakin's teachings, the lessons about balance, about using his emotions without being consumed by them. He feels the dark side rising within him, but he doesn't push it away. Instead, he embraces it, lets it fuel his power while maintaining control. His strikes become faster, more aggressive. He closes the distance between himself and Palpatine, his lightsaber, a green blur. Palpatine is forced to defend, his hands moving in intricate patterns as he deflects Luke's attacks with the Force. But Luke is relentless. He presses the attack, his blade coming closer and closer to striking true. Ahsoka joins him, her white lightsabers weaving through the air in perfect synchronization with Luke's movements. Together, they push the Emperor back, step by step, their combined strength overwhelming his defenses. But Palpatine is not finished. He unleashes a wave of dark side energy, a shockwave that ripples outward from his body. Luke and Ahsoka are thrown back, their bodies slamming into the walls. Luke's vision blurs, his head ringing from the impact. He struggles to his feet, his legs unsteady, and sees Palpatine standing in the center of the chamber, his body wreathed in dark energy. The Emperor has stopped holding back. This is his full power, the power of the dark side unleashed. You cannot defeat me. I am the dark side. I am the will of the Force made manifest. You are nothing but insects scurrying beneath my feet. Luke wipes the blood from his mouth and raises his lightsaber. If we're insects, then why are you so afraid of us? Palpatine's expression twists with rage. Afraid? I fear nothing. He raises his hands, and the lightning returns, more powerful than before. The energy arcs across the chamber, striking everything in its path. The remaining cloning cylinders explode, their contents spilling across the floor. The statues crumble, their stone bodies reduced to dust. Luke raises his lightsaber, but the lightning is too powerful. It overwhelms his blade, the energy coursing through his body. He screams, his muscles seizing, his vision going white. He can feel the dark side trying to consume him, to break his will and turn him into a puppet. But then he hears it, a voice, not from the Holocron, but from the Force itself. Anakin's voice, strong and clear. You are stronger than this, Luke. You are my son. You carry the light I lost. Don't let him win. Luke's eyes snap open. He reaches deep into the Force, drawing on the lessons Anakin taught him. He doesn't fight the lightning. He absorbs it. The energy flows into him, filling him with power, but he doesn't let it consume him. He channels it, redirects it, turns it back on its source. Palpatine's eyes widen in shock as his own lightning rebounds, striking him in the chest. The Emperor staggers, his body convulsing, but he doesn't fall. He's too strong, too deeply rooted in the dark side. Ahsoka rises to her feet, her body battered but unbroken. She sees Luke struggling, sees the effort it's taking for him to hold back the Emperor's power. She knows what she has to do. She charges forward, her white lightsabers blazing. Palpatine turns to face her, but he's too slow. Ahsoka's blades cut through the dark side energy, slicing through the barrier he's erected. Her lightsabers pierce his chest, the white light burning through the clone body. Palpatine gasps, his eyes wide with disbelief. Impossible! You're nothing! Ahsoka leans in close, her voice cold. I'm a survivor, and you're finished. She pulls her lightsabers free, and Palpatine collapses, his body crumbling to ash. The dark side energy in the chamber dissipates, the oppressive weight lifting. Luke drops to his knees, exhausted, his body trembling. Ahsoka rushes to his side, helping him to his feet. Are you all right? Luke nods, his breathing ragged. I will be. Is it over? Ahsoka looks at the pile of ash that was once the Emperor. For now. But we need to destroy this place. All of it. If any of his followers survive, they could try to continue his work. Luke agrees, and together they plant explosives throughout the chamber. Leia and the surviving rebel soldiers help, their faces grim but determined. They work quickly, knowing that every moment they spend in this cursed place is a moment too long. As they prepare to leave, Luke pauses. He looks back at the throne, at the ashes of the Emperor and feels a strange sense of closure. This is where it ends. Not just for Palpatine, but for the legacy of the Sith, for the darkness that has plagued the galaxy for millennia. He turns and follows the others, his steps heavy but purposeful. The explosives detonate as they reach the surface, the temple collapsing in on itself in a massive explosion. The ground shakes, and the storm clouds above churn violently. But then, slowly, the clouds begin to part. For the first time in centuries, sunlight breaks through, illuminating the surface of Exegol. Luke stares up at the sky, his heart swelling with hope. It's over. It's really over. Above them, the space battle reaches its conclusion. Wedge leads the rebel fighters in a final assault on the Sith fleet, his X-wing weaving through enemy fire with practiced precision. The Sith fighters are powerful, but they're no match for the skill and determination of the rebel pilots. One by one, the enemy ships are destroyed, their wreckage spiraling down into the storm below. The capital ships, ancient star destroyers that have lain dormant for decades, are targeted by the rebel fleet's heavy cruisers. Their shields fail, their hulls rupture, and they explode in brilliant fireballs. Wedge's voice crackles over the comm. "Luke, Ahsoka, we've cleared the skies. How are things down there?" Luke activates his comm, a smile tugging at his lips. "It's done, Wedge. The Emperor is destroyed. We're coming home." There's a brief silence, and then the comm erupts with cheers. The rebel pilots celebrate, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of joy and relief. Luke closes his eyes, letting the sound wash over him. They did it. Against all odds, they stopped Palpatine's contingency and saved the galaxy. The journey back to the fleet is quiet. The survivors are exhausted, their bodies and spirits battered by the ordeal. Luke sits in the shuttle, the holocron resting in his lap. He activates it one last time, and Anakin's image appears. His father looks proud, his expression serene. "You did it, Luke. You succeeded where I failed. You faced the darkness and didn't let it consume you. You've brought balance to the Force, not by denying the dark side, but by understanding it, mastering it, and choosing the light. I'm proud of you, my son, more than you will ever know." Luke feels tears streaming down his face. "Thank you, Father, for everything, for guiding me, for believing in me. I couldn't have done this without you." Anakin smiles, his image beginning to fade. "You were always strong, Luke, stronger than I ever was. Now go. Build the future I could only dream of." The holocron flickers and goes dark, its energy spent. Luke sets it aside, his heart heavy but hopeful. He knows what he must do. When they return to the fleet, they are greeted as heroes. Mon Mothma and the other leaders of the New Republic are waiting, their faces filled with relief and gratitude. The news of Palpatine's final defeat spreads quickly, and celebrations break out across the fleet. But Luke doesn't join them. He retreats to his quarters, needing time to process everything that has happened. Leia finds him there, sitting alone in the dim light. She sits beside him, her presence a quiet comfort. "You saved us all, Luke. You know that, right?" Luke shakes his head. "I didn't do it alone. Ahsoka, you, Wedge, all the soldiers who gave their lives. They're the real heroes." Leia places a hand on his shoulder. "You're right, but none of it would have been possible without you. Without the path you chose, the lessons you learned from Anakin, "You've done something incredible, Luke. You've ended the Sith." Luke looks at her, his expression thoughtful. "Have I? Or have I just bought us time? The dark side will always exist, Leia. It's a part of the Force, a part of life. We can't destroy it. Only keep it in check. That's why I need to do this. I need to build something new, something that can stand against the darkness without falling to it." Leia nods. "Then I'll help you, however I can." Luke smiles, and for the first time in days, he feels a glimmer of hope. Months pass. The New Republic stabilizes, its government taking root across the galaxy. The remnants of the Empire are scattered, leaderless, and broken. The galaxy begins to heal, scarred but hopeful. And Luke begins his work. He travels across the galaxy, following the guidance of Anakin's Holocron and the will of the Force. He seeks out Force sensitives, individuals who have the potential to become something greater. His first students are children, orphans left behind by the war. He finds them on war-torn worlds, their homes destroyed, their families gone, but they have the spark, the connection to the Force that marks them as special. Luke takes them in, offers them shelter and training. He teaches them not the rigid dogma of the old Jedi, but the balanced philosophy Anakin advocated. He shows them how to acknowledge their emotions without being consumed by them, how to face their fears and choose the light. One of his first students is a young girl named Mara, a Force sensitive who survived the destruction of her homeworld. She's angry, traumatized by the loss of everything she knew. Luke sees himself in her, the same rage and pain he felt when his aunt and uncle were killed. He takes her under his wing, teaching her to channel her anger into strength without letting it consume her. It's a difficult process, and there are moments when she nearly falls to the dark side. But Luke is patient, guiding her back to the light time and time again. Another student is a boy named Kyle, a teenager who discovered his Force abilities by accident. He's terrified of his power, afraid of what it might make him become. Luke teaches him that power is not inherently good or evil. It's how you use it that matters. Kyle struggles with this concept, his fear warring with his desire to do good. But slowly, with Luke's guidance, he begins to accept his abilities and embrace his potential. Ahsoka joins Luke as a co-teacher, her wisdom and experience invaluable. She works with the older students, those who survived Order 66 and are haunted by their past. She understands their pain, their guilt, their fear of failing again. She shows them that it's possible to move forward, to find peace, without forgetting the lessons of the past. Together, Luke and Ahsoka create a curriculum that blends the best of the old Jedi teachings with Anakin's philosophy of balance. They establish their academy on a remote moon, far from the prying eyes of the New Republic and the remnants of the Empire. The moon is lush and green, its surface covered in forests and rivers. It's a place of natural beauty, untouched by war and conflict. Here, the students can train in peace, free from the chaos of the galaxy. The academy is simple, just a collection of buildings constructed from local materials. There are training halls, meditation chambers, and living quarters. But it's enough. It's a place where they can learn, grow, and become the protectors the galaxy needs. The training is rigorous. Luke pushes his students hard, knowing that the galaxy will not be kind to them. They learn lightsaber combat, mastering the traditional forms and the variations Anakin developed. They practice Force techniques, learning to manipulate objects, sense deception, and project their presence across vast distances. But more than that, they learn philosophy. They study the history of the Jedi and the Sith, understanding the mistakes of both orders. They debate the nature of the Force, the balance between light and dark, and the responsibility that comes with power. Luke's philosophy is simple but profound. The Force is not about light or dark. It's about choice. Every moment, we choose who we want to be. The dark side offers power, but it demands your soul in return. The light side offers peace, but it requires sacrifice. True balance comes from understanding both, acknowledging the darkness within yourself, and choosing the light despite it. That is the path of a true guardian. The students struggle with this concept. Some find it liberating, a departure from the rigid dogma they've been taught. Others find it terrifying, afraid that acknowledging their darkness will lead them down a path of no return. But Luke is patient. He shares his own struggles, his own battles with the dark side. He tells them about his confrontation with Vader, about the moment on the Death Star when he nearly fell to hate. He shows them that it's possible to face the darkness and emerge stronger. Years pass. The academy grows. More students arrive, drawn by Luke's reputation and the promise of a new way. Some are children, their potential just beginning to bloom. Others are adults, survivors of the old order who are finally ready to embrace the Force again. Luke welcomes them all, regardless of age, species, or background. The only requirement is a willingness to learn, to grow, and to serve the greater good. As the academy flourishes, Luke begins to send his students out into the galaxy. They're not called Jedi, not yet. They're known as the Guardians of Balance, protectors who serve the Force itself rather than any government or institution. They work alongside the New Republic, but they're not beholden to it. They answer to a higher calling, a commitment to justice, peace, and the preservation of life. The Guardians quickly earn a reputation. They're fierce warriors, skilled diplomats, and compassionate healers. They intervene in conflicts, mediate disputes, and protect the innocent. But they're also careful not to overstep their bounds. They understand that power without restraint leads to tyranny, and they refuse to become the very thing they fight against. They are servants, not rulers, protectors, not conquerors. Luke's students begin to graduate, their training complete. The first to leave is Mara, the angry girl he found all those years ago. She's changed, her rage tempered by wisdom, her pain transformed into compassion. She returns to her homeworld, now rebuilt and thriving, and dedicates herself to helping others heal from the trauma of war. She becomes a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is a path forward. Kyle, the boy who feared his power, becomes one of the Academy's most skilled instructors. He stays behind to teach the next generation, sharing the lessons Luke taught him. He's patient and kind, a stark contrast to the terrified teenager he once was. His students adore him, and he becomes a pillar of the Academy, a living testament to the power of growth and redemption. But not all of Luke's students succeed. Some fall to the dark side, their emotions overwhelming them. Luke feels each failure like a knife to the heart, but he doesn't give up. He learns from his mistakes, refines his teachings, and vows to do better. He knows that he can't save everyone, but he refuses to stop trying. For every student who falls, 10 more rise, their light pushing back the darkness. One day, Luke receives word of a disturbance in the Force. A powerful dark side presence has emerged on the planet of Dromund Kaas, an ancient Sith world. Luke knows he must investigate. He gathers a team of his most experienced students and sets out, Ahsoka by his side. The journey to Dromund Kaas is long and treacherous, but they press on, determined to confront whatever evil awaits them. When they arrive, they find the planet shrouded in darkness. The sky is perpetually overcast, and the air is thick with the residue of Sith rituals. They make their way to an ancient temple, its walls covered in runes that glow with a sickly red light. Inside, they find a cult, a group of Sith loyalists who are attempting to resurrect one of the ancient Dark Lords. Luke and his team engage them, their lightsabers flashing in the dim light. The battle is fierce, but Luke's students prove their worth. They fight with skill and discipline, their training evident in every strike. But the cult's leader is powerful, a former Inquisitor who survived the fall of the Empire. He wields a double-bladed lightsaber, his attacks brutal and relentless. Luke faces him alone, their blades clashing in a duel that shakes the very foundations of the temple. The Inquisitor taunts Luke, trying to break his resolve. You think you're different from the old Jedi? You're just as arrogant, just as blind. Your precious balance is a lie. The dark side will always consume those who touch it. Luke parries a strike, his expression calm. I've touched the dark side. I've felt its power, but I chose not to let it control me. That's the difference between us. You're a slave to your hatred. I'm free. The Inquisitor snarls and unleashes a flurry of attacks. But Luke is ready. He uses the techniques Anakin taught him, blending light and dark, offense and defense. His strikes are precise, efficient, deadly. The Inquisitor begins to falter, his movements slowing as exhaustion sets in. Luke sees his opening and takes it. His lightsaber cuts through the Inquisitor's weapon, severing it in two. The man falls to his knees. Defeated, Luke stands over him, his lightsaber raised. But he doesn't strike. Instead, he deactivates his blade and offers his hand. It's over. You don't have to die here. Come with us. Let us help you find a better path. The Inquisitor stares at him, his expression a mix of disbelief and rage. Then, slowly, he reaches out and takes Luke's hand. Luke pulls him to his feet, and the Inquisitor collapses, sobbing. Luke places a hand on his shoulder, his voice gentle. It's all right. You're not alone anymore. The Inquisitor, whose real name is Marcus Trell, spends weeks in silence after his capture. He sits in his cell at the academy, staring at the walls, his mind a battlefield of conflicting emotions. He's killed hundreds, maybe thousands, in service to the Empire. He's hunted Jedi, tortured innocents, and committed atrocities that haunt his dreams. How can he ever atone for what he's done? How can someone like him ever deserve redemption? Luke visits him every day. He doesn't push, doesn't demand answers or confessions. He simply sits with Marcus, sharing meals and offering quiet companionship. Sometimes they talk about trivial things, the weather, the food, the sounds of the forest outside. Other times, they sit in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. Slowly, Marcus begins to open up. He tells Luke about his past, about how he was taken as a child by the Inquisitorius, trained to hunt Force sensitives, conditioned to believe that mercy was weakness and compassion was a lie. "I didn't have a choice," Marcus says one evening, his voice barely above a whisper. "They took everything from me. My family, my identity, my humanity. All I knew was the mission, the hunt. I thought I was doing what was right, that I was protecting the Empire from dangerous insurgents. But now I see the truth. I was the monster." Luke listens, his expression compassionate but firm. "You're right. You did terrible things. You hurt people who didn't deserve it. But that doesn't mean you can't change. My father was Darth Vader. He killed more people than you could ever imagine. He was the Emperor's right hand for decades. But in the end, he chose differently. He chose to save me, to stand against the darkness. And that choice redeemed him." Marcus looks up, tears streaming down his face. "But how do I live with what I've done? How do I face the people I've hurt?" Luke places a hand on his shoulder. "You start by acknowledging your mistakes. You accept responsibility for your actions. And then you spend the rest of your life trying to make amends. It won't be easy. There will be days when you want to give up, when the weight of your past feels too heavy to bear. But if you're willing to walk that path, I'll walk it with you." Over the following months, Marcus becomes one of Luke's most dedicated students. He throws himself into his training with a fervor that borders on obsession. He practices lightsaber combat for hours, his movements becoming more refined, more controlled. He meditates daily, diving deep into the Force to confront the darkness within himself. It's a painful process, forcing him to relive his worst moments, to face the people he hurt and the lives he destroyed. But he doesn't run from it. He embraces the pain, uses it as fuel to become better. Ahsoka works closely with Marcus, sharing her own experiences with guilt and loss. She tells him about the Jedi Purge, about the friends she lost, the masters who fell. She tells him about walking away from the Order, about the years she spent in hiding, wondering if she could have done more to prevent the catastrophe. "I blamed myself for a long time," she says. "I thought that if I had been stronger, wiser, more vigilant, I could have saved them. But the truth is, we can't change the past. All we can do is learn from it and try to do better." Marcus listens, absorbing her words like a parched man drinking water. He begins to understand that redemption is not a destination but a journey, a lifelong commitment to growth and change. He starts helping around the academy, assisting with repairs, teaching younger students, and offering his skills wherever they're needed. At first, the other students are wary of him. They know who he was, what he did. But slowly, as they see his sincerity, his dedication, they begin to accept him. One day, a young student named Saria approaches Marcus during training. She's a Twi'lek girl, no more than 14. Her leku adorned with traditional markings. She watches him practice for a long moment before speaking. "You were an inquisitor, weren't you? You hunted people like us." Marcus stops, his lightsaber deactivating. He turns to face her, his expression open and honest. Yes, I did, and I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean much, but it's the truth. I was wrong. What I did was unforgivable. Saria studies him, her eyes searching his face. My uncle was killed by an inquisitor. He was trying to protect me when they came for my family. I was just a child, but I remember his screams. I remember the red lightsaber cutting him down. Marcus's face pales, and he drops to his knees, his voice choked with emotion. I'm so sorry. I don't know if it was me, but it could have been. I've done so many terrible things, hurt so many people. If I could take it back, if I could undo even a fraction of the pain I've caused, I would, but I can't. All I can do is promise that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it. Saria is silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, she extends her hand. I don't forgive you. I don't know if I ever will. But I believe you're trying to change. And that's a start. Marcus takes her hand, tears streaming down his face. Thank you. I don't deserve your kindness, but I'll do everything I can to earn it. From that day forward, Marcus becomes a mentor to Saria, teaching her the skills he once used to hunt her kind, but now repurposed for protection and defense. Their relationship is complicated, marked by pain and mistrust, but it grows over time, becoming a testament to the power of forgiveness and the possibility of redemption. As the Academy flourishes, Luke begins to receive reports of disturbances across the galaxy. Small incidents at first, isolated attacks on New Republic convoys, mysterious disappearances of Force-sensitive children, whispers of a new threat rising in the shadows. Luke investigates, sending his most experienced guardians to gather intelligence. What they discover is troubling. A new organization has emerged, calling themselves the Crimson Dawn. They're not Sith, not exactly, but they're deeply connected to the dark side. They're led by a figure known only as the Ascendant, a mysterious Force user whose identity and motives remain unknown. Luke calls a meeting of his senior guardians, including Ahsoka, Marcus, Mara, and Kyle. They gather in the Academy's war room, a circular chamber with a holographic projector at its center. Luke activates the projector, and images of Crimson Dawn's attacks appear, floating in the air. We have a problem. This organization, Crimson Dawn, is growing. They're targeting Force sensitives, recruiting some, killing others. They're also stealing Sith artifacts, ancient relics that could give them incredible power. We need to stop them before they become a real threat. Ahsoka leans forward, her expression grave. Do we know who the Ascendant is? Luke shakes his head. No, they've been careful to hide their identity. But based on the reports, they're powerful, very powerful. Mara speaks up, her voice sharp. Then we need to hit them hard and fast. Find their base. Take them out before they can consolidate their power. Kyle frowns, his tone cautious. But what if this is a trap? What if they're trying to lure us out, to test our strength? Marcus nods in agreement. He's right. We need to be smart about this. Gather more intelligence. Understand what we're up against before we commit. Luke considers their words, weighing his options. You're all right. We need to be careful, but we can't afford to wait too long. Every day, we delay, more people suffer. I propose we send a small reconnaissance team to gather information. If we find their base, we assess the situation and decide our next move. The group agrees, and Luke selects a team for the mission. Mara will lead, accompanied by Kyle and 2 other Guardians. Marcus volunteers to join them, arguing that his experience with the Inquisitorius gives him unique insight into how dark side organizations operate. Luke hesitates, but ultimately agrees, trusting in Marcus's commitment to redemption. The team departs the next day, their ship slipping into hyperspace as they head toward the last known location of Crimson Dawn activity. The journey takes them to the planet of Ryloth, a world scarred by slavery and exploitation. They land in a remote region, far from the major settlements, and begin their investigation. It doesn't take long to find signs of Crimson Dawn's presence. Villages have been attacked, their inhabitants either killed or taken. Force-sensitive children are missing, their families left behind to mourn. Mara interviews the survivors, her expression growing darker with each story. "They took my daughter." One woman sobs, her face streaked with tears. She was only 8 years old. They said she had a gift, that she would serve a greater purpose. But I know what they really want. They want to use her, to twist her into something evil. Mara places a comforting hand on the woman's shoulder. "We'll get her back. I promise." The woman looks up, hope flickering in her eyes. "Do you really think you can?" Mara's voice is firm, unwavering. "Yes, we will." The team follows the trail of abductions, tracking Crimson Dawn to an abandoned mining facility deep in the mountains. The facility is heavily guarded, with patrols of armed soldiers and automated turrets. Mara scouts the perimeter, using the Force to sense the layout and identify potential entry points. She returns to the group, her expression grim. It's a fortress. Getting in won't be easy. But I detected something inside. A dark presence. It's powerful, concentrated. I think the Ascendant might be there. Kyle frowns. If the Ascendant is there, we're walking into a trap. We should call for reinforcements. Marcus shakes his head. By the time reinforcements arrive, Crimson Dawn will be gone. We need to act now. Mara agrees. We go in quietly, gather the children, and get out. If we encounter the Ascendant, we assess the situation and retreat if necessary. We're here to rescue, not to start a war. The team prepares for the infiltration, checking their weapons and reviewing the plan one last time. They enter the facility under the cover of darkness, slipping past the guards and disabling the turrets. Inside, the facility is a maze of corridors and chambers, its walls lined with ancient machinery. The air is thick with the dark side, a pulsing, malevolent presence that makes Mara's skin crawl. They move cautiously, following the trail of Force energy deeper into the facility. Eventually, they reach a massive chamber, and what they find makes their blood run cold. Dozens of children are imprisoned in cages, their faces pale and gaunt. They're being forced to meditate, to open themselves to the dark side, their innocence corrupted by the twisted teachings of Crimson Dawn. Overseeing them is a robed figure, tall and imposing, their face hidden beneath a hood, the Ascendant. Mara signals to the others, and they spread out. preparing to attack. But before they can move, the Ascendant speaks, their voice echoing through the chamber. "I've been expecting you, Guardians of Balance. Did you really think you could sneak into my sanctum unnoticed?" The Ascendant turns, and their hood falls back, revealing a face that makes Mara gasp. It's a woman, her features sharp and regal, her eyes burning with a golden light. She's beautiful, but there's something cold and cruel about her, something that radiates pure malice. "Welcome to my domain. I am the Ascendant, the rightful heir to the Sith legacy. And you, Guardians, are intruders in my home." Mara steps forward, her lightsaber igniting. "Release the children, now." The Ascendant laughs, a sound that sends chills down their spines. "Or what? You'll kill me? You'll destroy this place? Go ahead. But know that if you do, these children die with me. They're connected to the dark side now, bound to my will. If I fall, they fall." Mara's jaw clenches, her mind racing. She's telling the truth. Mara can sense the connection, the dark tendrils of energy linking the Ascendant to the children. If they kill her, the backlash will kill the children too. Kyle steps forward, his voice calm but firm. "Then we'll sever the connection. Break your hold on them." The Ascendant smiles. "You're welcome to try, but I warn you, the process is delicate. One mistake and they die. Are you willing to take that risk?" Marcus speaks up, his tone cold. "You're bluffing. You wouldn't kill them. They're too valuable to you." The Ascendant's smile widens. "Am I? Let's find out." She raises her hand, and one of the children screams, their body convulsing as dark energy surges through them. Mara doesn't hesitate. She rushes forward, her lightsaber flashing as she strikes at the Ascendant. The battle is fierce. The Ascendant is incredibly powerful, her mastery of the dark side evident in every move. She wields a crimson lightsaber, her strikes fast and brutal. Mara meets her head-on, their blades clashing in a shower of sparks. Kyle and Marcus join the fight, attacking from the sides, but the Ascendant holds them off with ease. She's not just skilled, she's experienced, a true master of combat. She uses the Force to hurl debris at them, to create barriers of dark energy, to summon blasts of lightning that force them back. But Mara doesn't give up. She draws on her training, on the lessons Luke taught her. She channels her anger, her frustration, her fear, and uses it to fuel her attacks. Her strikes become faster, more aggressive, pushing the Ascendant back. Kyle and Marcus coordinate their attacks, working together to create openings. Slowly, they begin to gain the upper hand. The Ascendant's movements become more defensive, her confidence wavering. Finally, Mara sees her chance. She feints left, drawing the Ascendant's guard, and then strikes right, her lightsaber cutting through the woman's weapon. The Ascendant stumbles back, her lightsaber destroyed, her expression one of shock and disbelief. Mara advances, her blade at the Ascendant's throat. "It's over. Release the children." The Ascendant laughs. "Even in defeat, you think you've won? This is just the beginning. Crimson Dawn is larger than you can imagine. Even if you kill me, others will rise to take my place. The darkness will always endure." Mara's grip tightens on her lightsaber. "Maybe, but not today." She deactivates her blade and strikes the Ascendant with a force push, knocking her unconscious. Kyle and Marcus rush to the children, using the Force to sever the dark connections binding them. It's a delicate process, requiring precision and care. One by one, the children are freed, their screams fading as the darkness releases its hold. They collapse, exhausted but alive. The team gathers the children and prepares to leave. As they make their way out of the facility, Mara pauses, looking back at the unconscious Ascendant. "We should take her with us. She might have information about Crimson Dawn, about their plans." Marcus nods. "Agreed. But we need to be careful. Someone that powerful won't stay contained for long." They bind the Ascendant and carry her onto their ship along with the rescued children. The journey back to the academy is tense, the weight of their discovery heavy on their minds. When they arrive, Luke is waiting. He greets the children, offering them comfort and reassurance. They're safe now, their ordeal over. But his expression darkens when he sees the Ascendant. "You captured her." Mara nods. "She was using the children, binding them to the dark side. We couldn't just leave her." Luke studies the woman, his senses reaching out through the Force. He feels her power, her connection to the darkness, but also something else. Pain, loneliness, a deep, aching void that she's trying to fill with power. Luke orders the Ascendant to be placed in a secure cell, protected by force-dampening technology. Over the following days, he visits her, trying to understand who she is and what drives her. At first, she's defiant, mocking him, taunting him with promises of Crimson Dawn's inevitable victory. But Luke is patient. He doesn't rise to her provocations. Instead, he shares his own story, his struggles with the dark side, his father's fall and redemption. Slowly, the Ascendant's defenses begin to crack. She reveals her true name, Ceres Vane, and tells him her story. She was once a Jedi Padawan, one of the survivors of Order 66. She watched her master die, cut down by clone troopers who had been like family. She spent years in hiding, consumed by rage and grief. Eventually, she turned to the dark side, believing it was the only way to gain the power she needed to avenge her fallen comrades. She founded Crimson Dawn, gathering other survivors and dark side users, united by their hatred of the Empire and the new Republic that replaced it. "And now?" Luke asks, his voice gentle. "What do you want now?" Ceres looks at him, her expression vulnerable for the first time. "I don't know. I've spent so long chasing power, chasing revenge, that I've forgotten what it's like to want anything else." Luke nods, understanding. "I know that feeling. My father spent decades consumed by the same darkness. But in the end, he chose differently. He chose to let go of his hatred, to embrace the light. You can make that choice too, Ceres." "It's not too late." Ceres is silent for a long moment. Then she laughs, a bitter, hollow sound. "You think it's that simple? You think I can just let go of everything I've done, everything I've become?" Luke shakes his head. "No, I know it's not simple. Redemption never is, but it's possible. If you're willing to try, I'll help you." Ceres stares at him, searching his face for any sign of deception. But she finds only sincerity, only compassion. Slowly, she nods. All right, I'll try, but I can't promise anything. Luke smiles. That's all I ask. Over the following months, Ceres begins her own journey of redemption. It's not easy. She struggles with guilt, with anger, with the temptation to return to the dark side. But Luke and Ahsoka are there, guiding her, supporting her. Marcus, too, becomes a mentor to her, sharing his own experiences with falling and rising again. Slowly, Ceres begins to change. She starts helping at the academy, teaching students, sharing her knowledge of the dark side, not to corrupt them, but to help them understand it and resist it. But not everyone is happy with her presence. Some of the students, particularly those who lost family to Crimson Dawn, resent her. They see her as a monster, undeserving of forgiveness. Luke addresses their concerns in a gathering, his voice firm but compassionate. I understand your anger. I understand your pain. But if we turn away everyone who has ever fallen to the dark side, we become no better than the Sith. Redemption is hard. It's messy, but it's necessary. My father was Darth Vader, one of the most feared figures in the galaxy. But in the end, he chose the light. And because of that choice, I'm standing here today. Ceres deserves the same chance. His words don't convince everyone, but they plant a seed. Over time, as the students see Ceres's dedication, her genuine remorse, they begin to soften. It's a slow process, marked by setbacks and difficult conversations, but gradually, Ceres becomes a part of the Academy community, a living testament to the power of redemption and the strength of the human spirit. Meanwhile, the threat of Crimson Dawn continues to loom. With Ceres captured, the organization has fractured, but it hasn't disappeared. Splinter groups continue to operate across the galaxy, their members driven by hatred and a desire for revenge. Luke knows that they must be dealt with, but he's determined to do it the right way, with compassion and understanding, rather than violence and destruction. He sends his guardians across the galaxy, not just to fight Crimson Dawn, but to offer its members a choice. Surrender, renounce the dark side, and they will be given a chance to start over. Many refuse, choosing to fight to the death rather than abandon their beliefs. But others accept, tired of the endless cycle of violence and destruction. They're brought to the Academy, where they undergo the same process of rehabilitation and redemption as Marcus and Ceres. One of these recruits is a young man named Kyle, a former Crimson Dawn enforcer who specialized in hunting down Force sensitives. He's bitter and angry, convinced that the galaxy is a cruel place where only the strong survive. Luke assigns Mara to work with him, believing that her own journey from anger to balance will resonate with him. At first, Kale resists, lashing out at Mara, testing her patience at every turn. But Mara doesn't give up. She shares her own story, her own struggles, and slowly, Kale begins to listen. "You were just like me, weren't you?" he asks one day, his voice barely above a whisper. Angry at the galaxy, at the injustice, at the suffering. Mara nods. "Yes, I was. And that anger almost destroyed me. But Luke showed me another way. He taught me that strength isn't about power or domination. It's about compassion, about choosing to do the right thing even when it's hard." Kale looks at her, his expression vulnerable. "And you really believe that? That someone like me can change?" Mara smiles. "I do. because I've seen it happen. I've lived it, and if I can change, so can you. Kyle's journey is long and difficult, marked by setbacks and moments of doubt. But with Mara's guidance, he begins to find his way. He starts helping around the academy, using the skills he once used for destruction to build and protect. He becomes particularly close to Saria, the young Twi'lek girl who had confronted Marcus. The two of them bond over their shared trauma, finding comfort in each other's company. Over time, Kyle becomes one of the Academy's most dedicated students, a living example of the transformative power of compassion and understanding. As the years pass, Luke's Academy continues to grow. The Guardians of Balance become known across the galaxy, their reputation spreading far and wide. They're not just warriors, but diplomats, healers, and teachers. They intervene in conflicts, mediate disputes, and protect the innocent. But they also work to address the root causes of suffering, fighting against poverty, injustice, and oppression. They're a force for good in a galaxy that desperately needs it. Luke himself becomes a legendary figure, revered by many but also misunderstood by some. There are those who see him as too lenient, too willing to forgive those who have done terrible things. They argue that monsters like Marcus, Ceres, and Kyle should be punished, not redeemed. But Luke stands firm in his beliefs. Justice without mercy is tyranny, and mercy without accountability is weakness. We must find the balance between the two, holding people responsible for their actions while also offering them a path forward. One day, Luke receives a message from Leia. She's now a prominent senator in the New Republic, working tirelessly to build a government that is just, fair, and responsive to the needs of its citizens. But she's facing opposition from hardliners who want to crack down on any remaining Imperial sympathizers, even those who pose no real threat. "Luke, I need your help," she says, her image flickering on the holo communicator. There's a faction in the Senate that wants to implement mass arrests, targeting anyone with ties to the Empire. They're calling it a security measure, but it's really just revenge. I'm trying to stop them, but I need support. Can you come to Coruscant and speak to the Senate? Luke hesitates. He's always tried to stay out of politics, believing that the Guardians should remain independent, free from the influence of any government. But this is different. This is Leia, his sister, asking for his help. And more than that, it's a chance to prevent the cycle of violence and revenge from perpetuating. He agrees. And within days, he's on Coruscant, standing before the Senate. The chamber is vast, filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Luke stands at the center, his presence commanding attention. He speaks not with anger or judgment, but with compassion and wisdom. He tells them about his father, about Darth Vader's fall and redemption. He speaks of the students at his academy, of Marcus, Ceres, and Kal, of the transformations he's witnessed. "Revenge is easy," he says, his voice echoing through the chamber. "It's satisfying in the moment, but it solves nothing. It only perpetuates the cycle of violence, creating new enemies, new grievances. If we want to build a better galaxy, we must be willing to forgive, not to forget, not to excuse, but to offer people a chance to do better." His words resonate with many in the Senate, swaying the vote. The proposed mass arrests are rejected, replaced with a more measured approach that focuses on rehabilitation and reintegration. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a step in the right direction. Leia embraces Luke after the vote, tears in her eyes. "Thank you. You saved us from making a terrible mistake." Luke smiles. That's what family is for. But not everyone is pleased with the outcome. A faction of hardliners, led by a senator named Tavar Slen, sees Luke as a threat to their vision of a strong, centralized government. They begin to spread rumors about him, painting him as a dangerous radical who coddles criminals and undermines the rule of law. Luke ignores the attacks at first, believing that his actions speak louder than words. But the campaign against him intensifies, and soon he finds himself at the center of a political firestorm. Tavar Slen calls for an investigation into Luke's academy, accusing him of training vigilantes and operating outside the law. Luke is summoned before the Senate once more, this time to defend himself. He stands in the chamber, facing a hostile crowd, their faces filled with suspicion and fear. Senator Slen speaks first, his voice dripping with contempt. "Master Skywalker, you claim to be a force for good, but your actions suggest otherwise. You've gathered an army of Force users, trained them in combat, and sent them across the galaxy to interfere in the affairs of sovereign worlds. How is that any different from what the Jedi did during the Clone Wars? How do we know you won't use your power to impose your will on the galaxy?" Luke takes a deep breath, his voice calm but firm. "Senator, the Guardians of Balance are not an army. They are protectors, dedicated to serving the greater good. They do not interfere in the affairs of sovereign worlds unless invited. And they do not impose their will on anyone. They operate with the consent of the communities they serve, and they are held accountable for their actions. As for the Jedi, they fell because they became too intertwined with the Republic, too beholden to political interests. The Guardians will not make that mistake. We serve the Force, not any government," Tavar Slen sneers. "And who holds you accountable, Master Skywalker? Who ensures that you and your Guardians don't abuse your power?" Luke meets his gaze, unflinching. "We hold ourselves accountable. Every Guardian is trained to understand the weight of their responsibility, the consequences of their actions, and if any Guardian abuses their power, they are held to account by their peers. We do not claim to be perfect, Senator, but we strive to do better. Every day, the debate rages for hours, with senators on both sides arguing passionately. In the end, the Senate votes to allow Luke's academy to continue operating, but with oversight. A committee is established to monitor the Guardians' activities, ensuring that they do not overstep their bounds. It's not an ideal solution, but Luke accepts it, understanding that accountability is important. As Luke leaves the Senate chamber, Leia catches up with him. "I'm sorry you had to go through that." Luke shakes his head. "Don't be. They're right to be cautious. Power without accountability leads to tyranny. I'm glad they're keeping an eye on us. It keeps us honest." Leia smiles, pride shining in her eyes. "You've become quite the diplomat, brother." Luke chuckles. "I learned from the best. Back at the academy, life continues. The students train, the teachers instruct, and the Guardians carry out their missions across the galaxy. But there's a new sense of purpose, a deeper understanding of their role in the galaxy. They're not just warriors or peacekeepers. They're symbols of hope, living proof that change is possible, that even the darkest souls can find their way back to the light. Luke visits the Holocron one final time. He activates it in his private chambers, the small pyramidal device glowing softly in the dim light. Anakin's image appears, but this time, it's different. He's not alone. Standing beside him are the ghostly forms of Obi-Wan and Yoda, their expressions warm and proud. Luke's breath catches. Masters. Anakin steps forward, his smile radiant. You've done it, Luke. You've succeeded where we all failed. You've brought true balance to the Force. Obi-Wan nods, his voice filled with pride. We were wrong, Luke. Wrong to fear the dark side so much that we denied it entirely. You've shown us that it's possible to acknowledge the darkness without being consumed by it. You've created something better than the old Jedi Order. Yoda chuckles, his ancient eyes twinkling. Proud of you we are. Learned from your father, you have. But surpassed him, you did. A great teacher, you have become. More than a teacher, you are. A healer, a bridge between light and dark. Luke feels tears streaming down his face. Thank you, all of you. I couldn't have done this without your guidance. Anakin shakes his head. No, Luke. This was your journey, your triumph. We were just voices in the wind, echoes of the past. You're the one who made the choice, who faced the darkness and chose the light. You're the one who saved the galaxy. Not just once, but over and over again, with every student you teach, every soul you redeem. The image begins to fade, and Luke reaches out, as if trying to hold on to them. Wait, please. Anakin's voice echoes one last time, warm and loving. We'll always be with you, Luke. In the Force, we are one. And remember, balance is not a destination. It's a journey, one that never ends. Keep walking that path, and the galaxy will follow. The Holocron flickers and goes dark, its energy finally spent. Luke sits in silence, the weight of everything pressing down on him. But it's not a burden. It's a responsibility, one he accepts willingly. Luke steps outside, the cool night air washing over him. His students are training in the courtyard, their lightsabers flashing in the moonlight. They laugh and joke, their camaraderie a testament to the bonds they've formed. Luke watches them with pride, his heart swelling. These are his children, not by blood, but by choice. They are his legacy, the future he's fought so hard to create. Ahsoka joins him, her presence a quiet comfort. They did well today. Luke nods. They always do. They're ready, Ahsoka, ready to face whatever the galaxy throws at them. Ahsoka smiles. And what about you? Are you ready? Luke looks at her, his expression thoughtful. I don't know if I'll ever be truly ready, but I'm willing to keep trying. That's all any of us can do. Ahsoka places a hand on his shoulder. Then that's enough. Together, they stand in silence, watching the students train. The moon rises higher in the sky, its light bathing the academy in a soft glow. In the distance, the forest hums with life, the sounds of nocturnal creatures blending into a soothing symphony. Luke closes his eyes and reaches out with the Force, feeling the life around him. the balance he's worked so hard to create. He thinks of his father, of the sacrifices Anakin made, the lessons he taught. He thinks of Obi-Wan and Yoda, of their wisdom and their mistakes. And he thinks of the future, of the galaxy his students will inherit. The Force is not about light or dark, Luke realizes. It's about choice. Every moment, we choose who we want to be. We choose whether to give in to our fears or to rise above them. We choose whether to serve the darkness or to stand in the light. And that choice, that simple, profound choice, is what defines us. Not our power, not our abilities, but our decisions. That is the true meaning of balance. Luke opens his eyes and looks at Ahsoka. She's smiling, her expression serene. She understands. He realizes. She's always understood. Together, they've created something beautiful, something worth fighting for. And as long as there are those willing to stand against the darkness, the galaxy will never fall. The light will endure, carried forward by those who choose to protect it. The night deepens and the students finish their training. They gather around a fire, sharing stories and laughter. Luke joins them, sitting among his students, not as a master, but as a friend. They ask him questions about his adventures, about his father, about the lessons he's learned. And Luke answers, his voice warm and patient. He tells them about Anakin, about the man behind the mask, the hero who fell and rose again. He tells them about the importance of compassion, of understanding, of never giving up on those you love. One of the younger students, a human boy named Darren, looks up at Luke with wide eyes. Master Luke, do you think we'll ever face someone as powerful as the Emperor? Luke considers the question, his expression thoughtful. I don't know. The galaxy is vast, and there will always be new threats, new challenges. But I believe that as long as we stand together, as long as we choose the light, we can face anything. The power of the dark side is great, but the power of compassion, of love, of hope is greater still. Another student, a Zabrak girl named Vera, asks, but what if we fail? What if we fall to the dark side? Luke's expression softens. Then we pick you up. That's what we do here. We don't abandon those who stumble. We help them find their way back. Falling doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. What matters is whether you choose to get back up. Vera nods, her expression thoughtful. Thank you, Master Luke. I'll remember that. As the fire burns low, Luke looks up at the stars. Somewhere out there, his father is watching. Somewhere out there, Obi-Wan and Yoda are at peace. And somewhere out there, the Force flows, connecting all living things in an endless cycle of life and death. Light and dark. Luke smiles, his heart full. He's done his part. He's honored his father's legacy and created a future worth living. And that, he realizes, is all anyone can ask for. The journey continues, the balance endures, and hope remains. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.